name is Vivian Street, and I became the president of Spring Valley branch of the NAACP. I believe it was 1999. And so my words were, I'm compelled to run to save the branch. And that's what I did. And I won, thank you. Secretary, treasurer, vice president. I've held vice president first, second, and third. I've had them all. And I like being the vice president, to help the president, no matter who it is. And I will always be, like I always tell people, you don't have to be president to do the work. You don't need a title. I don't need a title to do the work, because I want to do the work. And not too many people, you sacrifice your time and money to do a lot of different things, because I enjoy it. And getting the memberships, we got our first office on Church Street, right near Deacon Allen's shoe shop. He passed away recently. David Smith gave us space that he charged us like nothing to be there. The other major accomplishment was with East Ramapo. I'm happy to say we had a phenomenal education committee. Carol Anderson, who's still at it, and I love her for that. Henry Cozart, and many others that I'm not quite remembering names right now. But we actually had a lawsuit also, but it didn't go to court because we settled out of court, signed document with the Division of Civil Rights, and we brought in, 30, 40, 50 plus Black educators, administrators, and even superintendents. And I'm happy to say many of them have retired recently, but when I was president, we were able to really diversify East Ramapo. Back then, the numbers weren't there. I had the luxury, and really it's a blessing to have been exposed to people like Herman Stovall. I didn't say this to you guys, but for 20 hours a week, I worked at Rockland State under Crouch and Mr. Gores. They're since all deceased. But you get exposed to many different people, and they see your worth. If I say IRC, some people in the audience might know what I'm talking about. You guys don't know. But we had a lot of groups. They used to be right back there, IRC. We had the Tiger's Den, that was in Memorial Park. Not the Tiger's Den that you know, in Memorial Park. It was a building. We used to have a drill team, many other things. So I got involved from high school. And still involved. I was in student government in high school. I went to college, I was in student government. I always was involved in civic engagement type activities politically. A participant in the youth council, worked with the youth advisor, was like a junior youth advisor under Sarah Jackson. I remember the Texas trip where one kid got lost on top of the roof. It was a disaster. Anyway, that was an experience, just being a youth advisor. 2018-2019 election of the legislature. I ran for Legislative District 13, which has since been redistricted. So the district I ran for, I could have won, probably. But unfortunately, I lost to the current Assemblyman, Aaron Weeder. He left the legislature and went to the Senate. And that was fun. That was an enjoyable experience. I was a mother, still a mother, a wife, active in my church, and I did the work. I know how life is. It was busy all the time, but I did the work. So that's my only suggestion. When I see young people not voting, knowing how many people died just to have that right, whether you knew them or not, they died just to have that right to vote. And so the ability for you to vote today is on the backs of somebody who probably didn't even get a chance to vote, but they were fighting to vote. So what drives you? It's in here, in the heart, in here, it's in your gut. If it's not there, you're not going to do this work because you don't get paid, and it's a thankless job, but it's something you do. I mean, it's volunteerism. I was on the Finkelstein Library Board over 20 years. Thank God we have someone who is trying to be running for that this time. I'm really happy about that. But I think some of us, we need to slide over to allow people like you, Max, to step up. But you got to step up and do it right.
My name is Karen Session, and I was born at Good Samaritan Hospital in Suffolk, New York, but I grew up in Spring Valley, New York. I was recruited by, his name was Irvin Murphy, and that's how I became a member. I might have been a member, but when he recruited me, he actually wanted me to run for president. It was growing up in Spring Valley was a lot of fun. Um, my family was very important. My family was uh, the the they were the rock there. They were what was important to me, and that drive me. What was important to them, I will say this: they were very concerned about voting, and not who you voted for, but you made sure you voted. It was we all called each other. Did you go vote? Did you go vote? Did you go vote? That was it. You better, and if you didn't vote, you better not let anybody know in the family that you didn't vote. That was very important to them. They did what they needed to do to support their family, and that was the best example that they set for me. Was um, they pushed me to get an education so that I could have a good job, which did happen for me, and I was able to take care of myself and help out family where I could. The most memorable thing was attending it was a national convention, the NAACP national convention, and Bill Clinton was one of the speakers. And that was the first time I'd ever been I didn't get to meet him, but it was the first time ever seeing a sitting president. So that, to me, that was very memorable. That whole experience was very memorable. For me, I would say, and there was actually a compliment that was given to me from one of the higher level people in the organization at that time. And maybe that's an accomplishment of mine, that things became more stable in the organization. And she was happy that she wasn't hearing about anything bad coming out of the organization. So, and I think financially, there was a stability there um, that that helped us that helped with the stability, being financially stable. Um, you have to have a strong spirit, because the challenges will not just all be from external. There will be internal challenges, and you have to realize that that is going to be part of it, and that you will have to deal with that as well, and decide if that um, I would say start I would say start from the bottom, become a member, and move up if you think that's where you want to go. But keep your eyes open and always pay attention. Observe what's going around you. That would be my advice for anybody looking to be more involved in the NAACP, and it will help. It will help you in life. If you if that's your path, if that's what you want to do, you can take that experience into your life as well.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Artis-Bryant, and I had the pleasure of serving the Spring Valley NAACP adult branch between the years of 1996 and 1998. At that time, fun fact, I was the youngest person elected and served not only in the state of New York, but within Region 2, which is the region that this branch belongs to. I think it was a natural bridge for me. Having worked within the youth council, I was a youth council member and served in a couple of different positions, and then transitioned to the advisor of the youth council. And so it was a natural transition of leadership to move to president within the adult branch and try to bridge those two together. So when I was a member of the youth council, I served as treasurer, secretary, and youth council president. So I believe some of the major accomplishments are certainly notable. accomplishments under my presidency. Organizations like Combine Lakai during a time where immigration was a concern in the village of Spring Valley. Also working very closely with the police department in the village of Spring Valley and the town of Ramapo on community policing and bringing community policing back to our area. This was a way to get officers on the street and in the community, building and fostering relationships outside of negative interaction. And that has led over the years. They've kind of built on that, especially in the village of Spring Valley, and developed the YAC program. And that was through the Spring Valley Collaborative, where they were able to get some funding. But it was kind of based off of the thought of how to continue with positive police and community relationships. I think the impact that I hope, or certainly the legacy that I hope that I left, was that young people just going for it, right? If you have a passion, believe in yourself, believe in your passion, and go for it, right? That young people can make a difference. We learn, we don't know everything, but there are some things that we certainly can contribute to move our community forward and to move our people forward. So I would definitely hope that, having accomplished the things that I have, being the youngest president, that this branch has seen, that hopefully that would be an inspiration to young people, that they do have a voice, they can be heard, and that they can make a difference. Some of the changes that I have seen, I think, is more mentorship, opportunities for young people with the adult branch. I have certainly seen that there is now a young adult chapter, which is new, at least for me. I know you guys have been active for a couple of years now, but that the legacy is still building. I think my happiest moment in the being a member of the NAACP is really knowing that I made a difference, and really doing something that other young people had not done before. So kind of laying that foundation, but also what I learned from those that came before me, and having the opportunity to learn from our elders. I really still have some good memories from some of the adults who were leaders in the association, and just kind of learning. One of the things that I've always said is I learned to become a leader from the church and the NAACP, and kind of merging those two together.
I was about 12 years old when my mother and her friend got on the telephone and decided we need to have an NAACP chapter in Spring Valley, New York. There was one in Hillsborough, there was one in Nyack, but they were all very busy. And so when we needed help, we had a hard time getting it. So my mother is a person who believes in the community. She loves her community, and she wanted to make sure that we got justice when we needed justice. And in order to get justice, we needed the NAACP. Now, my mother, back at that time, I guess she must have been in her 40s. She was a sixth grade student. That's how far she had gone in school. And she didn't feel that she was confident enough to write a letter of that importance to an agency where everybody, she felt, were college educated, professionals and whatnot. So she got her daughter, her 12-year-old daughter, to sit down and write the letter. She dictated the letter to me. She told me what she wanted to say. She didn't know exactly how she wanted to say it. So I was the one that basically wrote what she told me to write. And we sent it. I signed her name. Believe it or not, she didn't sign her name. She signed Mrs. Robert Atkins, my father's name, because I guess back in the day, women didn't feel confident enough or strong enough. They didn't feel that they were worthy to be able to sign something of importance unless it was in a man's name. And eventually we heard from them. And I guess the reason we heard from them so quickly was because it was a child's handwriting. At least it looked like a child's handwriting and not an adult. And I guess they were curious to know why a child would write a letter requesting a chapter of NAACP in our town. Well, I guess everything got straightened out, and I believe they needed to have a certain number of people. My mother saw to it that there were a lot of people that they met at the church. She put the word out, come, because we were trying to get a chapter here, and a whole lot of people showed up. A whole lot of people, being maybe 20, because there weren't those many African American people or Black people. Well, I guess back in the day we were colored, colored people in Spring Valley. So she got everybody that she could, and they came, and we got the chapter. She got on the bus, red and tan, went into the city, picked up the charter, and brought it back and presented it to the group. And I'm assuming they had their president um, and all the officers that they needed work. They had them. Don't be like those crabs in the barrel. And as one goes up, you pull them down. You know, you all go together into the storm.
My name is Willie Trotman. I am president of Spring Valley NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Color. In my regular job, I was the affirmative action administrator at Rockland Psychiatric Center, and also had been the patient advocate, and also I had come from a segregated background in Florida. So I always had an interest in civil rights. And I got involved here with Spring Valley branch. I think Vivian Street, who was the president at the time, and I was vice president, her mother got very ill. And so she needed to take care of her mother. And so she kind of resigned, and I took over as president. Yeah, I had a lot of inspiration within the NAACP itself. Dr. Hazel Dukes, Wilbur Aldridge was the regional director, Dr. Hazel Dukes was the president. But just the mere fact of I was on the Human Rights Commission, the Rockland County Human Rights Commission as well. And we were dealing with issues there were no people of color on the Orangetown Police Department. Actually, we spent 3 years going to their meetings trying to get a person of color on the police department in Orangetown. So that was one inspiration. Dealing with the East Ramapo Central School District was another inspiration. Just trying to get kids an equal opportunity for an education. Every kid, I think, deserves an opportunity. Everybody deserves an opportunity. And many of our kids, if you think about the plight of the kids in East Ramapo, ICE comes through, we found that they've got families who live in a single room in an apartment building, where they have to sign a contract every 3 months. And think about that. One of the kids I was talking to said, you won't see me around for the next 2 weeks. The Martin Luther King Center comes after school. And I said, why not? And she said, the economy. That means her parents can't afford to send her here for 2 weeks, and that's kind of sad, but also think about the kids who are afraid. Think about, the kids who go to school and on the way home don't know if their parents are going to be here because we're such a cruel country. You take people, and think about what's going on in New Jersey, where they're claiming that people are not getting food, et cetera, et cetera, and that makes us a cruel people. So those are some of the inspirations that keep me going. As you know, we don't get paid. We don't get refunded for gas or anything, tolls, anything like that. But I think we owe it back to the individuals who helped us along the way. I'm not so discerning guy. not necessarily from a sole religious perspective, as I saw Malcolm's, even though Martin was a minister. Uh, but it's dealing with everyday life, as I would want life to be for me, and how I was taught that life should be. So it's taking a little from each one of them and then going through it day by day. Martin, by the way, 15 in Hillburn, people don't realize that Martin spent the weekend here. When the civil rights movement was falling apart, he spent the weekend here in the Hillburn. That's significant because and when I go to Hillborn, I can think about it. Hey man, Martin was here. Guess what? You kind of you could breathe the air that he breathed. I think that we need a combination of those three individuals, and then throw in some feminine ship in there, and that makes it all right. Not necessarily that you're going to be totally successful, but at least you can put the fight together and just add all those components together, and I think it's a recipe for success. You know, Dr. Dukes always said, on the way to the graveyard, you've never seen a hearse and a U-Haul behind a hearse, so you can't take it with you. They dug up Tutankhamun and they'll dig up you. you know, and tell Biggie Smalls to look out. That those chains that he carried with him, somebody gonna dig them up. So you can't take it with you. You know what I mean? And so you brought it with you, but you're taking it to the grave with you. But if you share stuff, and then you continue to live on, your legacy continues to live on, and it's I would not be who I am had not people helped me become who I am, and so I think I owe that back to the kids who are coming up.
The physics scientists made a mistake 100 years ago in thinking that we had figured out how the world works. Reality is not a fixed existence. Reality is emerging. It's changing. And is changed by just about everything that happens. So that if you want to understand the reality of a thing, you don't want to know what it is, you want to know what it is experiencing.
Dr. Edmund Gordon was a Spring Valley NAACP president, as well as a professor of psychology at Yale University, Teachers College, and Columbia University. He also served as an honorary president and fellow of the American Educational Research Association, also a member of the National Academy of Education, member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, a fellow of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, recipient of the 2011 John Hope Franklin Award, recipient of the 2024 Harold W. McGraw Jr. Prize for Education, as well as many other chair and co-chair at nonprofits across America, serving the community in civil rights, psychology, and early childhood education. Dr. Gordon has been a pillar in not only the Black community, but as an American hero.
The Spring Valley branch of NAACP brought me a legitimacy in the Black community that I had not previously had. And I felt indebted to that community for helping to give me the identity of the local community. But we did invite Eleanor Roosevelt to come up to speak to the chapter. And when Eleanor came into this house and spent time with us and spoke for us, I was very moved by her. Not just that she was a white woman, and not just that she was the wife of one of our most important presidents. But if you don't know about that period, you really ought to read up on Eleanor Roosevelt. She was a remarkable woman. Pro-education, pro-child welfare, pro-labor. It had to do with the people. They were for it, and weren't shy about preaching that gospel. They have Eleanor come into my home, my community, was certainly a high point for me. But it was a Christmas of '64 that I got a call from Joseph Calafonte. And Joe Calafonte was Lyndon Johnson's executive man. He took care of the details. Joe was calling the phone. President Gordon says the president wants to do a little experiment with early childhood education. And we hear that you know something about it. Would you help us? And of course I agreed. And that ended up with their inviting 6 or 7 of us down to the White House. And Johnson explained that he wanted a big experiment. He wanted to do at least 10,000 kids, giving them early exposure to education to see if it made a difference. Congress realized that in a number of Black communities, they were using the money to organize the community. They were political development rather than child development programs. They stripped the community development components from Head Start. They kept the schooling part, which is important. But for me, if I had to make a decision, I would have focused on educating parents on how they educate their kids rather than educating kids on, in addition to educating kids on how to be better students. Charles White was about 6 years older than I. He was an only child, so I didn't really have a brother experience. I grew up very close to my sister Rose Gordon. When I met Charlie, I think I must have been a young adult. I don't know why we took to each other, but in reality, he became my. And then we died. That's early. I think about 63. 63 when he died. He and I had spent as much time as we could together. We practically poverty-stricken. His artwork was not supporting him. His wife was a social worker and supported him. So Susan and I, who were much better secluded financially, used to send him a check from time to time, or if he needed money, he would say so, and we could do it. He, in return, would give us a piece of art. So the art you see here, and all of it in our rather extensive collection, at least half of it he gave us, and the other half we purchased. But Charlie was probably one of the 3 or 4 most important Black people in graphic arts in this country. I would say seek out the smartest people you can find and try to understand what the hell they've got. Read as much as you can, question as much as you can, and try to explain things. I think I have learned as much trying to figure things out as I have trying to tell people what I know. Because most of the things I know certainly most of the things I knew 30 years ago turned out to be wrong. Life has progressed, new knowledge comes along, you learn new things. And if your mind isn't open to new stuff, you're in bad shape, because if you stuck with what they taught me when I graduated from high school, that was 1937. If I had been left with what I was taught in 1937, I never would be where I am now. So you question everything. You look for alternative answers. And most important, I'd say, if somebody criticizes you, don't hide, don't get mad at them. You open your eyes and ears and try to listen to it. I don't appreciate people telling me how good they think I am. It's flattering to have people agree. I look for you to criticize what I've talked about. Because if I don't know what we got wrong, if I can't defend what I'm moving to it, I'm in trouble. So I need that criticism, and I need to recognize and remember and act on the fact that for just about everything on earth, there's its opposite, it's contradiction. If you don't know Mao Zedong's little book on contradiction, you ought to read it. Everything has its opposite. And just about everything viewed from a different perspective appears to be different and may even function different.